Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld, and in today's episode we are finally going to begin our journey, the great journey around the lake in which we will build a railway upon which the Megatrain will ride. There's just a couple more things that we need to finish before we do that. I've realised that I've missed production of radar, so I'll quickly set up something like that. That should take no time at all because it's only using a couple of basic materials and it crafts fairly rapidly. And then we need to see what we can do about some of the supplies, I think. Steel seems a little bit fiddly right now, so I'm just putting in a splitter to try and help balance the situation. But there's still a bit of an issue with circuits. There's just barely any getting to advanced circuit production, but at the moment there's a bunch built up in these chests here. And I realise this is only sort of temporarily fixing the problem, but I decided to grab a bunch of circuits from one of those chests and move them. Then I initially considered putting them onto the circuit belt, but I decided to just put them straight into the advanced circuit assemblers to try and just get those running, because that's what we really need right now in order to make modules, particularly speed modules, which we need to make the last of the level 3 assemblers that we want. Meanwhile, there's a couple of things over here in the vehicle assembly area that still haven't been finished. In particular, trains. We haven't even started with trains. So the only way I'm managing to get it to make any is by manually moving engines from into the train assembler. So what I decided to do is add in even more engine production. Clearly the one assembler running at triple speed is not good enough, so what we're going to do is have another one. So we're just making some space here, and we'll set all this up, and there we go. We've got a new assembler making engines. Now we'll just set up the processing of the provider chest for that, and then what we're going to do is go over and grab another 4 level 3 speed modules and stick them into that one as well. At this point we just don't care about power consumption anymore or pollution. We just need to make engines and make them fast, because at the moment it's the most limited factor of all our production. We're majorly behind on the loading of engines themselves and of trains, and I think we may not even have as many cars as we should have right now. And the hope is that now that we have 6 times as much engine production as we used to, it will be enough to get all this stuff going. But I'm still trying to just grab a few engines from some places and put them into trains just to try and get some made. Because ultimately we do need some trains for the journey. It's likely that there will be times where we want to send trains back, maybe even set up new delivery trains and stuff while we're out in the middle of nowhere. And there's even the chance that the Megatrain will be destroyed and we'll have to make a new train, and things like that. So we have to be prepared for these eventualities and have some extra trains handy. So anyway, I'm just sort of messing about with different bits. I tried to boost speed module production by just dumping a bunch of advanced circuits into it. Once again, I'm just taking them from somewhere else, and so it'll in the long term it'll have no real effect. But in the short term, it gets us a few more speed modules for everything. So anyway, what I'm doing right now is I've set up a chest just outside of the logistics range, and I'm standing outside the logistics range myself and sorting out my inventory. What I've basically done is dumped everything I have into this chest, and then I'm taking out again the things that I think I'll need. If I did it the other way around and just took out stuff that I didn't need, I'd end up leaving a bunch of stuff behind. I think the best way to do it is to just do a reset, basically. And this way we're leaving quite a few random things behind, and I don't care. We just grab a couple of things there. We got one inserter and a power pole so that we can set up this little system here to transfer everything into that provider chest now that we're happy with it. I realised that what I could have done is just not had it as a provider chest and then switched it to one, but I didn't think of that straight away, so whatever. Now that'll all get itself sorted. And now we have things set up as we want them to be for the journey itself. We have our inventory set up as we want it, though we're probably going to add more shotgun shells and rails to it, as well as a couple of things like a spare tank, spare trains in my inventory itself, because that's a good idea, and things along those lines. We're just trying to get this little bit done. I just dumped all of the speed modules that I had in my inventory into level 3 assembler production, because what I want to try and do is get it up to 100, because it's a good number. We can build pretty much any sort of factory with that. So I'm just checking up other things here. We've got the circuit train nearly fully loading all of its iron there, which shows that it is being made use of, and we do need the iron from the circuit outpost to keep production going from what I can see. But anyway, we're down at the Megatrain now. What we're going to do is set up a a new thing for this rear cargo wagon. Because a few people were suggesting, and it is a brilliant idea, that I use this rear cargo wagon for delivering back from out in the middle of nowhere. So I'm going to set up an unloading system here so that whatever the train may have in it, it can get put away and unloaded before the train returns to grab more stuff, I guess. I've not got really a certain idea of what I'm going to be doing yet, but I know I'm going to be setting up outposts of some description along the way. In particular, I might want to set up a copper outpost, because copper is just dead, just completely dead right now, and it's not good. Though the issue with that is if we set up any trains going along the line, and we're using just one line, then we will not have all the luxuries we usually have with a two-way system, because we'll have trains that are trying to go like through each other essentially. So I don't know how exactly I'm going to orchestrate that. We'll have to see. But anyway, I'm setting up this sorting system, and I'm not really that experienced when it comes to setting up sorting mechanisms. I've not really ever done any, to be honest. So I'm just sort of putting together some rudimentary system. We're going to have a couple of inserters which specifically grab raw materials like ores, stone, coal, and wood, and then we're going to have a couple that grab alien artifacts as well. I don't know if this is like too many like inserters and chests, really. I don't really know what I'm doing with it, so I'm just sort of setting it up in a way that I think will catch any possible alien artifacts and ore that may come through. And then just in case there's stuff other than that gets delivered, we'll have one inserter on the end that just will grab anything. So there we go, we've got some sort of sorting system that exists and hopefully functions. And I'm just checking up on the situation in the cargo wagons now. There's a couple of inserters we have to deconstruct and rebuild to get them to load the right thing. Once again, having issues where we have two different things in one requested chest. And then I'm just going along all the cargo wagons, seeing how well they're loaded. And it's looking good. There's some spare shotgun shells that I'm grabbing. Still short on engines and engine derivatives and stuff. And we're going to try and just get that done just a little bit more. I mean, it's constantly going right now. We've got the 6 times speed of engine production now, and so on. So it's just a case of letting that run itself and seeing how long we can hold off setting off on the journey, because, you know, I promised that today would be the day that we go, because I thought it would be like last episode, and then it wasn't at all. But yeah, I think we're pretty much ready now. It's only a couple of engine things. I just dumped the remaining engines that are not in the train production into the train production. And then there's just a bunch of bots delivering me random things. Cause I've got like circuits and advanced circuits that have been put in places and things and need resupplying. Checking up on the production of level 3 assemblers. And moving about the speed modules a bit to make more use of it. I don't think I have any in my inventory right now, because I've just put them all into the level 3 assemblers. But the time has come. I've decided we can wait no longer. The journey must begin. And so I'm making my way over to the Megatrain, where we can set off, start building the rails and so on, and begin our journey. I've decided to do it in 3 times speed, because it's going to be a little bit more of a tedious going back and forward way of doing things than it was the first time I went round the lake. So I'm just grabbing a couple of extra things, some more bits of rail, and then we're actually not going to start with getting on the train. I'm just sort of scouting out the area here, working out where I want to go. And then what we're going to do is grab one of our tanks. We're going to plonk it down, fuel it, give it some ammo just in case we need that. Hop on board, and this is what we're going to use to build rails at least some of the time, because of course tanks are like pretty much exactly as wide as rails, meaning that, well, I think it probably is exactly, which means that you can use them to lay the rails. You just have to sort of ram the trees out of the way and then build the rails behind you. It can be a little bit clunky at times because you have to get it spot on. It's alright usually when you're doing horizontal and vertical, but for the diagonal it's a little bit more of a faff. As you can see, I'm sort of being a bit slow about it. In the end, I decided that I'm just going to go for sort of slapdash rough going over of the rails first. So there's a couple of bits that I completely mess up, but I get the basic structure in place, and that's the important thing. And we drive as far as we deem safe, because there are biter bases up ahead. And then we'll go back and just try and fill in some of the gaps. We're not going to bother picking up the bits of rail that have come off on either side, because it's just effort and wastes a ton of time. So we're back over here again. You can see the way I've set it up is as if it's a two-way system, but for now it's a one-way system. We're just going to build the one railway, the one line. We're going to worry about the rest later on. But here we go. We're about to board the Megatrain and set off on the first part of our journey. And there we go. And it's actually pretty good. I was worried it was going to be super slow to drive, but it's actually fairly responsive thanks to having the two steam engines on the front, so we can make some decent acceleration. So we drive on to the end of the track, and then it's time to start with the biter killing. So here we go. First biter base, nice and simple. There's just like one worm in the middle of it and a bunch of spawners. And this is what a lot of the journey's going to be, because there's the biters have repopulated since we last went on our great mission. A lot has happened since then, so we need to cut them back again and make sure that they don't bother the train or the tracks once they're coming through. So there we go with those, and there's a couple that we haven't seen yet. Of course, like some of this stuff hasn't been scanned since we originally went on the journey, so biter bases are just going to pop up in front of us sometimes as we get in radar range, or well, personal radar range. I guess it's just vision really when you're fully zoomed out. So there we go, and you can see that actually there's quite a bit of water around here that sort of extends beyond what we've ever scanned. Because what you've got to consider is we've got to move a train through here, and even if I never actually do it, I want to set things up such that I could have a two-way system, which means having enough space widthways for two tracks with a bit of spacing between them to go through. So it's actually, what I would rather do instead of going through the middle of all these patches of water that you can see that I walked through last time, is I'd like to try actually sort of going around them. But anyway, right now we're on board the train and we're just placing the tracks as we go. When there's no trees around, we can do that. We can just drive along and place the tracks super fast until we crash into a tree and then we have to stop. But I'm finding that actually it seems like a better tactic to use the shotgun rather than a tank. So I may just do that until shotgun ammo starts to run low. Should it ever do that, I mean, I have like 15 stacks of the stuff handy, and if that's not enough, I don't know what is. And actually, well, no, I can't remember how much shotgun ammo I had the first time round, but I was more sparing with it than I'm being right now. I'm going pretty crazy, and I'm, fairly happy to just mow down forests with it, because there's the chance the train's going to have to come through later, and if it means that there's a little bit less in the way of trees to clear up later, that would be nice. But anyway, we're mapping this whole patch of water here, and it's actually fairly sizable, and it's a fair bit of a detour we're going to have to make to go around it, but I'd prefer to do it that way. But we're just clearing away all the biter bases that are around the place that might, well, I'd say that might get in the way, but really they won't, because they're miles away from where the track's going to be. But what I want to do really is try and clear away all the biters in between the railway and the lake, at least. Just because that feels like the way to do it. Anyway, there's another base over here we've got to do. We've got to make sure that we scan out a fair bit so that we can see any biter bases that might become a problem. Because of course, while we're on our journey, there's going to be a lot of cases of the biters repopulating areas that we've cleared and getting closer to the railway. We have to worry about that. But anyway, we're going to extend the rails a little bit more now, and so we go with that. We'll hop on board the train again, bring it up to the front, and already it feels like we're making a lot of progress, because already we've gone from going down to diagonally down and south east, I guess, and it won't be long before we're actually going east. But then the lake is not just a simple circle; it's a much fiddlier shape than that. It's sort of like a comical bone, really, I'd say like a leg bone, but if the main part of the bone was missing, just the ends sticking out. But anyway, there's another base here to deal with. This one had quite a bit of worms, and the worms are the thing that we really need to be looking out for in our missions, because at the end of the day, there's only so much the biters can do. The bots will blow them up before they get too close usually, and so it's not too much of a problem. You can see that I'm just mowing down the forest. It's very satisfying to just run through the middle of a super dense forest and absolutely decimate it with the shotgun. You can really do some good clearing work with it. But yeah, we're moving on to going east now, and we're just sort of connecting up the bits of track here. And I'm not being particularly, I'm not trying to hug the lake too much. I'm just trying to sort of go around it. I'm not filling it with corners. It's just like occasionally there's a 45-degree bend, and with that, like with each sort of long stretch, I line it up with like a point on the lake that sticks out the most, I guess you'd say. So anyway, what I just did there was I set up a little station called A, and then told the Megatrain to go to Station A, and then deconstructed the station, meaning that should a station called A ever spring up anywhere in the rail network, the Megatrain will try and reach it, which is an important and a useful tactic when you're sort of transporting a train of this size, because we're going to spend a lot of time on foot. I mean, we're already doing that, and, you know, that's what a lot of it's going to be, rather than riding the train itself. The fun with riding the train comes once we've actually built the railway, and we're just free to drive along it as much as we want. But anyway, we're sort of scouting out ahead a little bit more, because what I want to do now is bring the train back in a bit, send it northeast. But first I need to work out where it can go to, where the patches of water that it needs to dodge are, and stuff. And you may have spotted there that I found some alien artifacts on the floor, just the two, which I couldn't pick up by just walking over them, because they were actually, like, when I went on my first trip around the lake, you had to press F to pick anything up. And since then, an update came out which allowed you to. Well, there's a bit of a big base here. There's a lot of worms in the middle that caused me some noticeable damage. Not too bad though. But yeah, an update came out which meant that all you had to do was run like vaguely near to alien artifacts and you'd pick them up. But it didn't apply to alien artifacts that had already been dropped. So anything that was dropped before that update still has to be picked up manually, which is how we can tell what's what. I mean, it'll be fairly obvious because we'll walk up and it'll be there already. But yeah, well, I'm surprised actually that I haven't seen more of it yet, because, you know, there were a fair few bases around here when I first came around. And so far all I found is one little like patch of two of them, and that's it. Anyway, there's another base here to deal with. I'm making sure to sort of clear things a certain distance away from the track, because I know that at some point they're going to repopulate back in, and we need a little bit of a sort of buffer area for that. I'm not really sure how quickly they'll do it. It might be that, like, by the time we're halfway around the lake, they've already wrecked the rails back at the start, in which case we'll have to do a much more sort of intensive clearing process when we go back round again, just to sort of push things back by a much further distance. But anyway, I'm getting a good idea of this particular patch of the lake now. And I can see there's just this little bit of, well, actually this fairly sizable biter base, which is entirely made up of biter spawners at the top of this bit here. What that actually suggests to me is that base has been here since very early on in the series, like back when we were in the Point 10 update, because back then spitters weren't a thing, and they now very much are. But back then, of course, you didn't have spitter spawners, and so only biter spawners would spawn. But that's so you can tell sort of how old a spawner can be on Railworld, at least. Though I forget exactly when I transferred over to the 0.11 update. It was a long time ago, though, of course, because we're now in the stable 0.11 update. So it's really a lot has happened since then. But anyway, we're just connecting up this bit now. We're now going northeast, which makes it seem like we're like nearly halfway there. But of course, we'll probably be going southeast again at some point, and it's a long way before we actually start going properly north. But I'm bringing it right over here, and we're going to line it up with the sort of the next bit of lake that juts out, which is just to the east of where we are right now. I'm just clearing a bunch of trees away around the place. And we're going to clear a few more biters away. Then we're going to put in this straight bit, connect them up, and that'll be it for today's episode. And next episode will be fully on our colonization of the, well, I don't know what to call it really. Is it a colonization? Is it a conquest? I would have called it War for the Lake, but I already called the previous one War for the Lake. In hindsight, that should have been Battle for the Lake, really. Because ultimately I was not winning it, I was only scouting it. Anyway, there's a very sizable base here with a crazy number of worms, and for this one I have 50 bots, and I'm constantly deploying new ones when, like, every time 5 get destroyed. And I had to wear my heftier of the two power suits for that particular battle to make sure I was alright. Because of course one of them is fitted with the 3 exoskeletons, while the other one instead just has more shields. For those really serious battles that could pose a problem. Anyway, we've got all these biters dealt with now, and we're going to set up the next bit of the track here. We'll go to this little jutting out bit of land here, and this is where we'll put our section of rail. We'll run our way back along, clearing trees as we go, and I think I'm just going to forget the whole tank thing, because using the shotgun is much quicker and less of difficulty, because of course the tank is only as wide as the tracks, whereas the sort of the coverage of the shotgun is a little bit wider. But anyway, we're just lining everything up here, getting it all positioned correctly, and then I'm putting in a couple of signals there just in case we need them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a station over here, I'm going to name it A, and then the train will come along and we can finish stood by it. So there's a lot of progress yet to make, but well, you know, we'll see where it goes from here. And as the train arrives and we also save, I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.